and welcome to another episode of Game Pass Grab Bag, your weekly podcast reviewing games from the Game Pass collection, bringing you three unique perspectives for skill range. I am the engineer of this episode, Andrew. With me, the one who would definitely pick up a space fungus, Keith.
Hello.
And the one who apparently really loves horror games, Aaron.
Oh, yeah, I did pick this one, didn't I?
Yes, you did.
I kind of forgot. I remember we had this discussion last week, and
You've picked about all the horror games we have played.
I don't mean to. I don't know why this keeps happening.
I did not realize that you kind of like, you were like, yeah, let's pick a routine. And it's just like, man, I feel like we're doing a lot of horror games. But then looking back at it, apparently Xbox likes horror games. Literally the most recent games out of the Game Pass have been a lot of horror games.
And didn't we kind of have this discussion back around Halloween, like not knowing what like spooky game we wanted to pick on Game Pass to play?
Yeah, we were back and forth on like, what should we pick? What should we pick? And then I don't know, December rolled around. And we're like, let's just do all from here on out.
Yeah, apparently after that, they just started loading you up with just a lot of horror games.
Yeah. But just a quick reminder, everyone, please go to GamePassGrabBag.com. You will find the link to all our URLs. Please join us on our Discord. You can see our live recordings, which we usually do on Wednesdays. But if you would also be so kind, we highly recommend that you at least check us out on Spotify for the next month or so. We're trying to hit the partner program, and we're very close. So if you could just help us out, give us that little extra push for the next month, that'd be super. But this week, we played Routine by Lunar Software. Routine is a first-person survival horror game that took 13 years to make.
What?
Yeah, this has been a long-developed game. 13 years. Okay. But yeah, Routine is brought to you by Lunar Software, which I believe this is their first game. Like from what I remember, I think they were a studio that broke off and formed their own studio, and it took them about 13 years to make this.
Passion project or something?
Yeah, no, well, so I guess I was looking at like an interview, and I guess they worked on it for a couple of years. It took like a 2-year hiatus because they didn't like where the game was going. Then they kind of had an idea what they wanted to do and got back on track, and it ended up taking 13 years. And here we are with Routine, which, okay, this game did not make much of a splash. Like, I really haven't heard anyone talk about it. I've seen some things about it because I knew of like this game taking a long time. I didn't know how long until I looked it up. But yeah, before we get into our Gamer Pass, since this is a spooky game, I wanted to bring this question up first because we normally do this. Where does this game rate for you on the spooky scale, 1 to 10? Keith, why don't you start off?
Man, I like that you're just jumping right into this one, and I think it's perfectly fitting for us.
I'm going to segue.
Yeah. Well, I wasn't trying to steal your thunder. I was trying to I was acknowledging it, but this one it got me. I want to almost like call it a 10, just like it's almost like a one or the other type of thing. But I mean, easily 7, 8, and it's hard because I don't want to spoil anything talking about it. But this one had some jumps and some good ones for me. It had some good scares. So
okay, yeah. You said between 7 and 10. Where are you landing, Keith?
I'm saying like 7. I'm gonna call it. We'll call it 7.5 just for the extra boost.
All right. What about you, Aaron?
I'm gonna fall a little more. I hate doing this just because I feel like it's a cop out. I'm gonna put it at a 5.
What?
I think it takes some time to get spooky, and I would argue that some of the spooky elements are really easy to dodge. So,
did you beat the game, Aaron?
I'm like right there at the end.
So for me, I'm giving this a 9. This game got me. So many times.
It's got its moments, but I think it takes a long time to get there.
It does, but this is also why I want to give it a higher score of a 9. So you've always talked to me before. We've obviously covered a lot of spooky games, and like anytime I'm usually at most like a 5, because that's the thing. I've obviously played a lot of games, and usually when I'm playing a game, especially as a horror game, you kind of see what the developer's doing. Sure. Like, okay, you're in an arena. There's going to be a monster that's going to chase you. This is the area. You got to figure out how to get out of that room. Okay. You learn, you kind of see the monster's pattern, and it's like, okay, I get what's going on here. And like as soon as I see it, it loses its horror. or you get the other thing where a game just relies so heavy on just jump scares. There was that Subway game. Couch Chungus, our listener, kept saying that we need to I should check out. That game was 90% jump scares, and within the first 2 jump scares, it no longer scared me anymore because I'm like, I get what this game's doing. Like, I'm gonna turn this corner. There's probably gonna be something. Up there's something. Up there's another thing. And so that's usually why horror games don't hit me. But this one, it was a slow burn build up. It built the atmosphere of the world, and then it was just like the second half act was just getting. I threw my controller a couple times.
Really?
I turned a corner and I went, God! I threw my controller.
My controller stayed in my hands at all times. It didn't get to that point, but it absolutely had some full-on jumps. Now, I don't know, and I don't always say this with horror games in particular. I was playing this at night with headphones and every light in my house off. So like I was playing it in an atmosphere that like perfectly fit it, and I'm with Andrew on the burn of it. Now I'm gonna put in a throwback here, and I'm gonna say this had all the feels of Tweety Bird chasing me the entire time.
Yep. I was gonna bring that up.
Forever, that bird was lurking somewhere, and this is where I don't know if I'm jumping too far ahead, but like Aaron was mentioning that it feels avoidable, and there is truth to that. But I think it's perfect because of what Andrew was saying. Is it takes away the okay, just wait 5 seconds, turns left, looks that way. I don't just have to figure out the pattern. This game genuinely got me at moments, and I loved the build up to it too because the very first half of it, I was like, oh, cool, kind of whatever, being chased, like it had that. And then the second half, and it wasn't just the chase, it was everything.
Yeah.
So
Maybe me playing midday. I've literally been playing this in the afternoons with headphones on, but I don't know. I never really jumped. And maybe it's just, again, I'm kind of used to kind of like what Andrew just said, the anticipation there. You kind of expect some of that stuff to pop out. I don't know.
See, the very final jump scare. You beat it, right, Keith?
I did.
So the moment before the video of the morning, I'm sure you probably know what I'm talking about.
Yes.
The final encounter. I was sprinting, and that was one of the moments I threw my controller because it caught me off guard.
Oh,
That, like, I screamed through my controller. Unfortunately, I didn't record it. I literally have my first 2 hours of the gameplay recorded, and I didn't record that. I screamed so loud though.
Well, and part of it is it's just they do such a good job playing with the lighting in this game, and that's one where it goes from you think you're. Yeah, I don't want to ruin it. It's just Let's finally kick this episode off. So, getting into our gamer pass, for me, this is, if you are a fan of horror games, this is a definite game. This is absolutely a definite game. And if you're not a fan of horror games, well, like I said, not a lot of games scare me, but this one got me. So, if you really want to avoid spookiness, I guess kind of avoid this. But yeah, this game really surprised me. Graphically, it was awesome. It did such a good job. So this game is supposed to be kind of like a 70s space adventure. You could tell it takes a lot of cues from a 2001 Space Odyssey, the movie, which you'll kind of even see with a little bit of a story. But just the way this world is built with that kind of vibe of the 70s feel, great. The story left me a little bit, it was good, but I liked it overall. But yeah, the world building of this, the sound design, and the creatures that are lurking, this took me a while at first because this game does zero hand holding. But man, this game is a slow cook, but it worked really well at the end. I like this. I'm giving it a game. Definite game if you're a horror fan. Yeah, I've been really sitting on this being a definite game, and it's one that it's not so much about like everybody needs to play it definite game, but there is, obviously the horror fan, then there's the Aaron doesn't know what he's talking about fan. And if you basically just disagree with everything Aaron says, like I do, he like still wakes the deep. Thought that was somehow spooky, and had I think he gave that like a 7 or an 8.
It's
And
because that
then
game had a ton of yellow paint, and this one doesn't. I'm
is
already
true.
calling it. This is going to be the thing with
there
Aaron right
is
now.
there is no yellow paint in that, and we'll get to that a little bit too. But I will say that for me, I'm with Andrew. Like this is one of the few games in the horror genre that didn't give me the ability to anticipate it. I've probably said it countless times over the years with horror games and relating it to real life. And what I don't really care for like haunted houses, it's not even because they scare me. It's because I usually end up not having fun in them because I'm always looking for the scare. So
Yeah.
that when I'm looking behind me, I'm looking for someone to pop out of a corner. I'm expecting it. And I'm like, ah, cool, you got me. This did not. There was just moments where I don't know why I wasn't expecting it. Maybe I just put my guard down for some weird reason. But yeah, there was just really, really good jump scares in this game, and I thought it had good horror, and I liked the gameplay overall. I thought it was fun.
We'll make it 3 in a row here. This is a game.
Okay, I was waiting for her to go. Well, this is a pass. I don't know what I'm doing.
No, and not at all. I
ahead.
think of all the categories that we're gonna go through on this game, I think there's only one that's really lacking, and the rest of them are outstanding. So, yeah, you already mentioned the yellow paint thing. Yes, I'll talk a little bit about the lack of hand holding, the lack of HUD and UI maps. Some of that stuff is actually really creative and really well done. So I was really surprised by this one. I just wasn't. I don't know. It just never got me. Like it had its. Like I said, it had its scary elements to this point, but I just think it took so long to get there, and that's not a complaint. I'm not even complaining about that. I actually kind of enjoyed how this game paced itself. But yes, I'm still going to give this a game. It's not a pass.
Okay.
So take that.
So, getting into the story routine, as I said, this is a first-person horror survival game. You are a engineer on an abandoned, well, something obviously went wrong on this moon base. You wake up from a very startled dream. You start exploring the base and you realize everyone's kind of missing. You kind of get some tidbit information here that, the security system has gone crazy, and you need to shut it down. That is your current objective. So you need to try to find either the survivors of the station or at least their ID so you're able to access the computer and kind of get and figure out what is going on at the space station. You aren't completely defenseless. You are given a gun-ish. It is a repair tool that can shoot electrical beams, but it's used for repairing and also kind of defense. But you are basically trying to go around and figure out why everyone has disappeared, where has everyone gone, and what is happening. But yes, I don't want to spend too much with the story. But yeah, this story is very odd. So this is a thing that was first making me nervous. When I first started this game, it's like, okay, moon base, crazy AI, robots are hunting me. Like this is like the first 2 hours of this game. I'm like, okay, like it was like, no, I don't care. I've seen this a dozen times. How many times have we done a killer robot fighting people on a space station? Whatever. I gotta say, like I said, it builds up very slowly, but I did like the story by the end of at the end of the credits.
Yeah, overall, yes. And there's the almost eye rolling, spooky, AI robots gone wrong makes what the game becomes so much better, I think, because yeah, it's just it takes a ride, and I don't want to say a whole lot. I think my one gripe about the ending, and it's kind of a weird thing, is that at the end of everything you do, all your tasks seem to have nothing to do with the story, if that makes sense. Like you go through all this, but I don't think anything that you're trying to do, it's like everybody wants you to do this thing because they think it's going to solve the problem, but the problem has nothing to do with the thing you're solving, that I can tell. But that's I don't know if
That's the
my very-
vaguest way of you.
does it make sense what I'm saying though, at least Andrew?
Yes.
And maybe Aaron, from where you've gotten to?
Yeah, no, this is the area that I would say is the weakest part of the game for me. So you were at least giving me a little bit of hope that reaching the end, you feel like the game, or well, Keith at least feels like there's a hole kind of in that plot, but Andrew feels like he's satisfied with the story arc.
Yeah,
By getting to the end.
And I will say, I don't even know if I'd go so far as to call it a hole or a plot hole or anything. It's
Kinda
just
feels like that's exactly what that would be.
it is, but it's not, because I don't know. I think everything's at least answered as far as what happens, if that makes sense.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah, because this is truthfully, of all the categories we'll cover, this is the only thing where I was kind of like, eh. And it's not necessarily for what Andrew was saying. I'm okay with sentient AI security systems is now kind of attacking everybody. I'm okay with that. I don't have an issue with that. But your games that kind of leave you to kind of piece things together as you're going through it don't always necessarily compel me. You know, like reading a note.
Where is this coming from? You were praising Little Nightmare last week, and it was all about piecing things together.
No. But done differently. Here's what I don't like. Here's kind of the difference. Little Nightmares built everything through scenery and action. This builds story through reading notes. And that, to me, is the difference. Now, don't get me wrong again. I don't want to knock this on visuals because the visuals are outstanding in this game. But that, to me, is the difference in storytelling. I don't love the let me click this button and listen to this recording, and that's how you're going to feed me story.
So correct me if I'm wrong on this, Aaron. You are not a big fan of found footage movies.
Not a huge fan, no.
Because that's what this feels like to me, right? It's a lot of piecing together emails, a few video clips, audio pieces here and there. It's all found content, so to speak, and that's how you discover the story.
And don't get me wrong, I actually like those elements as gameplay elements in this game. I think they work outstanding, and again, we'll get to that later. As storytelling pieces, not as much of a fan of it. It's just harder to kind of get connected to things and invested in things when you are nameless, faceless. There are really no other kind of characters you're interacting with, kind of things. Like there's so much just dead space in between there.
I would agree with you, Aaron, but I would not agree with you in this game. Yes, you are getting stories from emails and stuff like that. But what I loved about this game is that there's not a lot. Audio logs, there's maybe 10, maybe if even that. And whenever they're there, they're in a big room. I can hit play on that thing while I'm exploring this small room, kind of doing maybe a little puzzle or just exploring it so I can hear this audio thing. Anytime you opened a terminal, you usually had 2-3 options. Diary. The diaries were all 1-2 sentences long. Emails were slightly longer, but those were like, even still, 2 paragraphs. So anything I was reading was super quick and just straight to the point.
Okay, I would agree with you. Like none of that is incorrect. But doesn't that also then hurt the story since that is your main story tool?
I don't think so. And part of it is, I think it's supposed to, and I think you could say this of any video game, so maybe it's kind of a stupid thing to say, but like it really makes you feel like you are in this story and like you actually just woke up here and have no idea what's going on.
Yep.
Like unlike Still Wakes the Deep, one of my complaints was you are watching these people die and you're meant to be like emotionally drawn into their deaths, and none of them ever felt meaningful for me.
That's not true. That chef died.
None of
Spoiler, Aaron.
There's
you
not
say I spoil things.
There's not a single meaningful death that you visually watch in this game, so to speak, that's or character for that matter. Like Aaron was saying, you don't recognize these names. You're just kind of reading through and they kind of piece together a little what's going on, but you're experiencing what's going on. That's the story. The story isn't so much about what happened before you. It's it's really what's happening to you as you're going through it.
Yeah. And so I actually think that that's actually kind of a decent way of explaining it, because Andrew kind of alluded to something that it kind of occurred to me too. Am I filling in a lot of gaps for this story because it feels cliche when you're starting out? Like Andrew said, we've all experienced this type of plot point in a game. Like we've experienced these plot beats before. So are we more like actually filling in the gaps to the story than there is actually story?
No, I don't think so. I think
Like if I'm reading something about some character, some security character who's doing this stuff, and but that's all I really know about him. I don't really know much more about him. I might hear a few more bits and pieces of him, but that's about it. But I'm filling in the gaps in my head on what was
more or
happening here.
less.
Like Andrew said, you're walking around, you know something went wrong here. Are we then just filling in a lot of gaps?
I think I would say yes a little bit, but again, by the very final roll of the game, I think you go, "Oh, okay, I know exactly what happened here."
Yeah.
Yeah.
I-
I
that may
felt
be the
like
case.
I knew what happened, but there is stuff in between. And that's what I like. I like when a game gives me enough to feel like, okay, I understood what this game is trying to say and do, but there's a lot of weird stuff that's like, oh, like they can leave for interpretation. And I thought this game hit such a good spot of that.
And I'm good with vagueness. So let me just be clear. I'm not trying to take a huge knock on the story. I really don't think it's that bad. I just thought when you consider how finely tuned the other elements of this game were, that stuff felt just a little. And it may be. I may totally change my tune here by the time I get to the end and be like, oh, never mind. Now I get it. But to this point, it just feels like, okay, like it's fine. Like.
Yeah, I don't think the ending's gonna make you go, "Wow, I was wrong," but I think you'll be fine with it.
Yeah. I don't even hate it now. I know anytime I just disagree on something, it sounds
Wrong.
like I'm just super negative on it. I'm really not. It really is.
What chapter are you on, Aaron? Do you know?
4?
Oh, so yeah,
Sort-
you're
four
kind of
is
getting
like
where
where
it
it kicks
gets good.
off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so this is something that I did notice that
Because there's
at
only
least
6
to me
chapters,
felt
right?
weird.
Yeah, there's 6.
Okay.
The thing that felt odd to me, and maybe part of it had to do with my own gameplay, but the pacing felt strange. Like I felt like I was in the first chapter for, I don't know, I'm gonna call it like 45 minutes, and then it was like 20 minutes tops. Maybe I got a little more comfortable with trying to figure out the puzzles at that point, but I don't know. I don't. It's not even a complaint. It was just kind of like a weird thing. That what you just did took me way longer to figure out than.
Oh, see, I
than
loved
I-
it. Like when I
I
saw
like
that,
it. I'm not
yeah,
complaining.
it was
about
funny
I
because
just
it was
did
like,
took me a
look
long
at your
time to-
chest for your ID, and I'm like, wait, does it mean literally look at my chest? And so I aimed down. I was like, oh, there it is.
So
Super cool.
let's talk about that though. Let's flip into gameplay here, because to me, the gameplay on this game is super cool.
Yes.
Even though I am a big old idiot and I probably spent way more time lost in things, I am blown away with the fact that there is no HUD and everything is done in a tactile way.
Yeah.
And frustratingly so, because
Yeah, it concerned me. I'm like, is this game meant for PC? I'm like, am I gonna have a miserable time here on controller? But no.
there is no real tutorial here. So even figuring it out pretty early on, like, what the heck am I supposed to be doing right now, was really challenging. But once you get the hang of it, it's pretty cool. But how you use your gun to interact, even with saving the game,
Yeah.
I
The
can't
save
count how
points.
many times I hit B when I'm not really in
Yes.
a menu.
Yeah.
It's like
You're
this.
drop to the ground.
Yeah, because every dang game, this is just a menu. You're gonna press Y or start for, and it brings it up, and you hit save. This that's not the case. It's all done in this very tactile way. Everything is done in a tactile way. So even that right there, when you were putting in your key code and it was asking for your ID, you literally stared out at your chest and look at your ID badge on your chest. Really, really clever way of doing this. It's not like, oh, I saw my number on a Post-it note. No, it's literally right on your chest. Just look down. And the game's just full of those moments of these really tactile ways in which you're kind of interacting with the environment.
Yeah.
Absolutely love that.
Like with
thought
your
it was
gun.
so cool.
Yeah, you literally have to lift your gun up to your face and select either wireless mode. That your screen sometimes gets janky since this is like the 70s and 80s. Like technology kind of sucks, so your screen will kind of get fuzzy. You have to like reset your
You
screen.
have to degauss it. Yeah.
Yeah, you have to. Yeah, there's different modules you get for your gun. You have to personally select and pull the module out on your gun. Super cool. Like I was loving that. I was like, this is such a cool thing. Like it builds the horror element. It doesn't feel like clunky. It just feels like you just got to do this task while a thing is coming at you. It worked so well for me to just constantly hold that attention.
It would have felt clunky if this was much more action packed,
Yes.
but it's not made to be that, like a good old horror game. It's much more paced to kind of take these things kind of slow, solve these problems, very deliberately. When you are being chased, again, like I had said earlier, it's not hard to outrun these things as we are seeing on video here. So if you haven't seen it, you can see Andrew kind of easily dodging and escaping his threat.
You know what it felt like at times for me, and Aaron, you probably never played this one, but Andrew, it reminded me of Alien a lot.
Yes. Okay. I wanted to bring this up,
but that's why it was really weird because I could not stand that, and it makes me wonder. Maybe I've just changed, and maybe I'd like Alien, but I also, from what I remember, Alien had that mixture of here's your pattern of the enemy walking, and you kind of just had to outpatience it in a lot of ways. Whereas, again, in this, like, if you kite them the wrong way and all of a sudden you have 3 of these robots in a close-knit area, you're going to have a bad time. And realistically, you can probably just reset back to your last checkpoint, whatever the case may be, and you're going to get through it. It's not going to like hold you back forever, but it just adds a different element to the gameplay.
Yeah. So you got to be careful what you say about Alien Isolation, Keith. There's people that are very passionate about that.
There's
game.
truth.
That was like our #1 episode for years.
Yes, and I beat that game. I remember before we recorded that game, I beat it, and I really did not like it. I really did not like Alien Isolation. I liked what it was doing, but this game routine does the things that like I wish Alien Isolation did. Like it just does the things that I think the team at Alien Isolation maybe wanted to do. I don't know. But the 2 things that I really hated about Alien Isolation, one was the length of that game. That game was like 13 hours. It was so long. Like a good 4 or 5 hours. I'm like, I'm done with this game. Like, why is it still going? And it just kept going. And the other thing I hated about it was, so like I said, there's 2 kind of like horror genres you're getting. You're getting one that's just littered with jump scares, and then you get one where you're kind of stuck in an arena and a monster's chasing you and you got to avoid it. Alien Isolation is the one where you try to avoid it. And normally with the AI, you can kind of tell. With Alien Isolation, it knows kind of where you are, so it's always patrolling near you. So even though you may be in a big arena, you can see the AI is always within just a few feet kind of thing, going back and forth, back and forth. What I loved about routine is, as you're seeing my footage, I'm fighting one robot. But as you're kind of exploring an area, you discover, oh no, there's more robots here. And they do kind of their own thing. And they do this other thing that was catching me off guard so many times. And they would stop and kind of go in standby. So they would kind of unpurposely like block your path. So I'm like fighting this robot and I'll be running. And then it's like, oh no, one of the robots is in standby kind of in front of me. And it's like, well, do I try to sneak by it while this other robot's chasing me? Awesome. And then not only that, like the thing that also really irritated me, kind of the thing about Alien Isolation, when you fight a way overpowered enemy, if it just catches you, boom, you're dead. And like, and it gets, the horror loses for me because I get frustrated. Like I know that Alien is kind of at a close radius pacing me because it knows I'm there and it's trying to be spooky. But as soon as it catches you, boom, dead. And it's just like, okay, well that's dumb. Like I'm no longer scared anymore. I'm just frustrated and I just want to get past this area, but this alien won't just leave me alone. So in routine here, they at least kind of give you something. They give you a gun in which is like a a false
It's
security
a stun
blanket.
gun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When I first got it, when you see at the beginning, when I first see the robot, I'm like, cool, I have some ammo right next to me. I'm just gonna blast this robot. Maybe I can kill it. And I just load. You only get 3 shots. 3 shots, and you need to find a new battery. So I just shoot, grab a new battery, shoot, grab a new battery, and I'm like, okay, this thing is not dying. So yes, you have a gun, but it's like a false security blanket of like, yeah, you only kind of get to stun them for a little bit, and so you really got to kind of play with like I don't know, you don't feel fully safe, but you at least kind of have this protection. Because in my footage, if you ever do watch my YouTube video, you don't even have a flashlight, and there's a numerous times like almost every horror game will give you a flashlight. And like, no, you don't even get that security blanket. You are really kind of in the dark here. You do get a little bit of a flashlight with your gun later on, but it's pretty weak. And so that's what this game just did so well for me. It did enough to give me like a little bit of a comfort, but more than enough to freak me out and be like, no, it's a false sense of security.
You know, another thing it does, I think, really well. And at first, it kind of annoyed me, but then I thought about it, and it occurred to me why it works so well. Is it does goes back to the slow burn of it that we were talking about. Is it lulls you into these false senses of security throughout the gameplay, because
Yeah.
it breaks it up with a section where there just won't be any enemies wandering around, and then like you kind of just forget about them, and you might get some audio cues before you start to see them again, but in some cases you don't, and all of a sudden you just come around a corner and there's that robot standing there again. You're like, ah, crap, like I forgot, like, because last time I was in this area, it was clear. But now that I'm coming back through there and I have to do this puzzle or do the second puzzle, now there's enemies here. And like, now I have to account for that. So like, I really liked that. Now I'm glad that there wasn't yellow paint everywhere, but I'm going to say I was probably with Aaron on, I got lost a lot. And in particular, it was not this area, it was the last area. Part of it had to do with my own issue. I realized that I had like eye saver mode on my monitor, so my black levels were all off for a long time.
This
I
game's
was playing
very
game.
dark.
Yeah, when I changed that, it made things a lot easier to just see not hidden pathways, but like some of these dark alleys and stuff. But yeah, that one was on me. But it was one of those, like, as soon as I did click with them, it all made sense, and it was like a super easy environment to navigate.
Yeah. So, again, no yellow paint, no map. You are just kind of left to pick up on context clues on where you need to go. So, right off the bat, watching Anders' gameplay here, he started off in a different area than I started off in, because it gives you an option to either go to living quarters or to go to the mall first. Well, I went to living quarters first because
That's
I
right.
think
This is living quarters. That's where I went first.
I know I didn't.
Oh.
I went there, couldn't figure out what to do, so I left.
I took the Aaron path then. Okay.
Yeah, so I went to the mall and so I was like, oh, weird. It was weird that it looked like it wanted you to go to living quarters first. It kind of looked like it was leading you there, but no, clearly you have to be at the mall first. And, I'm progressing through there. And the problem is, it's like you kind of have an idea of what your end goal is there in the mall, kind of. Ultimately, what you're trying to do is get an upgrade for your gun and leave, which is the same thing for the living quarters. In a lot of ways, it's like a giant escape room. You're kind of solving a bunch of little puzzles and doing them in interesting ways. Again, all in this tactile way, to eventually escape is what you're ultimately trying to do. So I didn't realize, like, I was so lost. So when I got out of the mall, I'm like, well, now what do I do? So I go back to living quarters, and then I kind of figured out where I messed up, and I was actually able to get into the living quarters. But I think that was where you were supposed to start. The game gives you an option to do either.
No,
or.
I don't think it matters. I think you can do either.
Yeah, because I did living quarters just fine.
When I
without
finished
going
the
to
mall,
first.
it kicked me into episode 2 or chapter 2, which I'm assuming you guys did the same thing after you left living quarters. It put you into chapter 2. So technically, that was also kind of like, well, wait, what is chapter 2 then? Like, if chapter 1 could be either or, does it even matter? Like, do these chapter titles even mean anything? I don't know. But yeah, so I was lost in a lot of this game. Feels good when you solve it, but holy smokes, I spent a lot of time. Which kind of reminds me, this is another one of those games, which I'll run into these every once in a while, where you try to figure out pretty early on, what type of game are you? There is a lot in these environments, very detailed environments. And I spent a lot of time exploring the detailed environments because I'm looking for things. I'm always looking for things. And you realize pretty quickly, this is not a game for like hunting the details. There were no real collectibles.
Which I loved.
Yep.
Yeah.
In most cases, like either you figure out pretty quickly you need to be in that room or you don't need to be in there at all. Like, even though there's a bunch of stuff in there. So I kept like exploring shelves, looking for things, especially very early on, not later on, but very early on, I'm exploring every little detail.
That part scared me.
That was a good one. I remember that one.
None of those things got me,
That
I
one
guess.
that one wasn't as much of a jump. That one, it was good though, because you walk into that area and you initially think that robot's got you, and then you leave it alone, and then you go do a bunch of stuff and you like forget that it's there, and then bam.
Yeah.
Just, I don't know.
Maybe this was another thing that kind of didn't make this game as scary for me. They don't kill you on the first try. So
The first monsters don't.
I know.
And this is actually kind of Andrew's point about Alien Isolation, is it doesn't make it feel as punishing. And maybe this is your point too, Aaron, but I'm with you that you get at least a second go at points.
Well, that's where I'm saying, like, it just takes the scary element out of it when I just know the thing's going to knock me over the first time. And then I can just get up. And it was easy to outrun it. So it wasn't, like, hard to outrun it. And it wasn't... You could absolutely kite it around large objects. So it was kind of easy to, like, get it into a spot that I wanted to and then just take off. And I'm fine.
But I don't know. I feel like these were all just part of that intentional false sense of security that the game wants you to feel.
Yeah, you could 100% be right on that. That's just where, at least at this point, nothing about this was like overly spooky. It did a good job. Like it definitely doesn't feel great when you hear a giant hulking robot chasing you. Like that doesn't feel like, oh, this is fun.
Oh yeah, it grabbed me out of the vent. This is like no, this is what works really well for me. Of just it was the very first half. I probably wouldn't have given this that scary of a rating. It just always made me feel tense.
Yeah,
you always see the robots, the sound design. So this is me finishing the segment, and you're kind of like, okay, I just got to get to the exit now, and you're running, but then the game goes, no. We're blocking this. You got to figure out another way out. And so it's just kind of this chase segment, and it worked so well. It just kept me going with it. And that's what I liked about this. Usually when you play a horror game, like I said, you either got the jump scares or you got the arena. And like, that's it. That is all you are doing. This is the new arena. Now find a way out of it. But like this actually changed things a little bit. Like, yeah, you're still doing an arena thing, but how the puzzle is working. And like I said, I went through a chase segment here, which you kind of do through a lot of the areas. It felt different.
yeah. I mean, I totally agree with you. I think how it mixes in the horror element to the puzzle solving, the tactile feel of it, the environment, all of that stuff just blends in perfectly. It just does a really good job of making all of that stuff work. So I'm with you.
Yeah, the tension is one of my favorite things that it does a really good job with, because there's one puzzle I can think of in particular where the input for the puzzle is right around the corner from like the solution, but you have to kind of, well, you can figure it out in one go, I guess. But the way I figured it out was kind of going back and forth, looking at this like solution sheet and going back and trying to put in the solution.
I actually
That was a
had
really-
to write it down. Yeah.
It was a really cool puzzle. And
very cool.
but you're doing that while trying to, and it's not very far, but you're like sneaking back and forth and you can just hear the enemy in hallways and you're like, is it close? Do I have a chance? Should I wait? And I go back to, I liked that it wasn't like, oh, I know I have to wait because I just saw it turn that corner. So in 30 seconds, it's going to be back at this corner. So I'll just sit here because I need 35 seconds. Like, this was, it could show up at any moment. That robot could just come off a standby and just decide to start walking towards me. Anything happened, you had to be aware of your volume. Like opening doors would trigger them to come investigate the noise. It wasn't super sensitive, but things like that absolutely would trigger them if they were close enough by. So it's like, I really thought that was such an added gameplay to it. But I do agree that it wouldn't have been high on the spooky scale so much as like cool jump scares. Like I was laughing, about that one we were just watching on your gameplay of the robot. That was a cool jump scare. I liked how they did it, but that wasn't one of the ones that was like, ooh, that was scary.
It didn't feel like the jump scares didn't feel cheap and gimmicky.
No,
like in like a
what I love
typical
too.
horror movie of the cat jumping out, rah, and everyone freaks out. Like it wasn't anything cheap. The jump scares that happened, like that's how they got me. It's because a lot of times I just wasn't expecting it, and it hit me. I mean, I got a confession time here, guys. I'm not gonna lie. So the second half of the game, you're dealing a lot in this other base. I looked up online for the solution for the keypad because I didn't want to go exploring because I was really freaked out by the monster. And so I went online and I was like, just someone tell me the key code. I want to get through this door.
Was it the solution sheet one or was it a different one?
Yes. And which, unfortunately, it is a static key code.
Yep.
So there is no actual code. I had to do the puzzle. And I hated that the game made me do the puzzle.
I will tell you what I did is I figured out 3 of the 4 solutions and then I just whittled my way through to like 7 solutions.
Okay, so I am glad you were with me, Keith. Because that second half monster was terrifying. It is a giant humanoid that also goes invisible. And it's like, no, because once again, you get in that arena and I can see like hanging tapestry things. And I'm like, oh, you're supposed to be able to see these tapestries fluttering. The creatures nearby. Oh, man. Yeah, I didn't want to go exploring.
It was one of those areas there that, like I was telling you, I could hear it, and it was before I had even seen it. It was the first time it was ever introduced. I could just hear it, and as soon as you do, you're like, "That's not a robot. This is different. What am I gonna see?" Because it's never shown you it at any point. Has it shown you what this thing could be? And you just know it's out there.
Yes.
And so I go sprinting out because I'm like, I gotta get to this next room, and then I'm running past this hallway of just pitch black, and this thing just lunges out of nowhere. And gosh, that wasn't the one that got me more than anything, but that was where I was like, oh, okay, this game actually like has some good moments to it. Like that was the first moment I was all in.
See, this is a perfect contrast of literally what we just talked about, Little Nightmares, and what we wanted with Little Nightmares. We're like, for the most part, give me a build up for the monster. And that is what this game does. When you get that second half, I am finding diary, audio logs, videos, all building up this creature. Look at this thing. This is possibly its height. People are seeing the sightings of this thing. And I'm like, it's just build up, build up, build up. And then it gives it to you. And it hits so well. I'm really glad we are covering this game because this game needs exposure. This is such a good horror game. It was such a good build up on that creature, and it just nailed it out of the park.
Yeah, but I guess so. Again, my thought is the build up is you kind of find out pretty early on that something else is going on. Like you kind of get that drip fed to you. Would it have been better not to have had that drip fed to you? And it just
Yes and no, because here's my thing, and this is actually where the hole comes in the story for me. All these weird little events that lead you up to believe this is more than just what they're saying it is in terms of like the standard, like, oh, it's just an ecological event or whatever. And, like all of those things, correct me if I'm wrong, Andrew, those go all unexplained. There's
No, a little bit explained.
a little bit, but
Yes.
largely unexplained what the deal with those are. That this part was hilarious, actually. Random little cutscene of funniness. This arcade game that you can play, and it's Dance Dance Revolution, but you're posing. It's ridiculous.
It's called the Gun Show.
But yeah, I just it was even then, like after I saw the monster the first time, and like I knew what I was looking for, there was still times where, again, I was being sneaky, so I thought, and then you would just go close enough past the door, and you would have a split second that it would register that it was there in your mind before it would lunge at you, and then you to have that like, oh crap.
Yeah.
And then it's just on top of you. And one of my favorite things, because it got me a lot, not like me got my character a lot, I died to it. It has a lot of different animations. It's not the same repeated animation. There was one in particular that I thought and maybe it was still part of like an intentional cutscene. I can't tell for sure. It was this long drawn out like 7-8 second scene where you're like begging for it not to kill you, and then it just rips you in half basically. And I was like, oh, okay, that was dire. Sometimes it just picks you up and just slams your head into the floor a bunch of times. So
Yep. Yeah, one time picked me up and you could tell it just like snapped my neck, and it was like, oh, okay. But that's the other thing I like about this. It's not a grotesque horror game. Like, it is very eerie and disturbing. Like, I always felt slightly disturbed, and I think it's just because of its environment. Like I said, this environment of like the 70s and 80s kind of futuristic, like screens don't quite work. Like, everything's very minimalistic. It just always felt very uneasy. But no, like, you see a little bit of maybe blood splatter, and like that's kind of it. Like, it's pretty tame.
do you think that adding that level, like you were saying, of the kind of old timey tech of bad monitors and all this stuff, and you're on a moon base, like we're in 2026, we have far superior technology to that, and we don't have moon bases still. So is there something a little
We have space
creepy about
stations.
right? But I'm talking about full on moon
Yeah.
base where we have basically set up living arrangements there. So like it feels like extra janky, like everything should be ready to fall apart regardless of whatever catastrophic event is about to
Well,
happen.
it looks like a sci-fi movie from like 1985.
Well, there's
Yeah.
that
So
too.
what somebody assumed the future would look like in 1985 on a moon base. Like my immediate thought was like, oh, like Total Recall with Arnold Schwarzenegger. It kind of has that same kind of feeling. I guess this all goes hand in hand with graphics. But aesthetically, I mean, I think this game is absolutely brilliant. How everything is visually displayed to you is just so cool. To even funky little environments. So on this video right here, I liked this area for a really stupid but cool reason. In those empty water fountains, so this is like supposed to be like a court in a mall. Like, just think back in the 80s. There are these fake fish in there. So there's no water, but the fish is still going around and its tail is clacking as it's supposed to be swimming through the water. Stupid little things like that were just stupid in the sense that, like, it's a small little detail, not stupid in the sense that why did they waste their time on it? It was cool. And there's just fun little elements like that all throughout this game. Just what a cool vibe. And how did, like, from top to bottom, they clearly had a vision on what they wanted this thing to feel like, and man, they nailed it.
Yes.
Pretty much almost instantly. Like, when you start out in your room, it's like, okay, but then when you get out and the shutters open and you're on the moon, you're like, yeah, okay, this is cool. And when you're introduced to the gun, and it's just such a unwieldy piece of tech.
Yeah.
I just loved every bit of it. So
Me
and
too.
the more you get into it, the more you're like, gosh, that's really cool. That's a really cool thing. I just had a ton of fun just exploring this thing just because of just the level of detail they put into it.
Yeah,
I mean,
it takes a lot
handhelds-
of getting used to. I will say the one thing that irritated me is I wish I could had an option to at least have a reticle, like a very tiny dot, because you are trying to pick things up. And
Yeah.
it's supposed to be at the center of your screen. I get why they didn't give you that option. The very much lack of HUD, I get that. So it's not. It's a very minor complaint because this isn't a action survival game. You don't need to be picking up a bunch of stuff.
There's
but
very
it's
little you pick up.
yes.
That's why I actually am okay with you not having it. It's just because there's
Yeah, I am
so
too.
little you have to pick up.
It just at the beginning, I remember being like, "Oh, this is going to annoy me. This is going to annoy me." Because the thing that first annoyed me too is like you don't select computer screens. You literally physically walk up to it, and like the mouse will
mouse
just appear
shows up.
on it.
Yeah.
Yeah, so like that's the other thing that also took a lot of getting used to is like you're trained usually to walk up to a computer screen and press A, and now you're locked on it, and now you can control it. Not in this game.
Yeah, but to me, that's part of the tactile feel of it.
Yep.
That I love.
Oh, me too. I loved it.
Just because there's like games just don't do that. They don't have a vision like that and all the way through kind of show it off like that. Yeah, this actually didn't take me as long as I thought it would to figure out how the ultraviolet view on your gun works.
It took me a little bit of time.
It took me a while to figure out how to get out of this room because there you have to use that in a very
Yeah,
specific way,
this
but-
one, this was one of the few things I will say I did look up because I walked around this room for like 5 minutes. I was just like, I don't know. It's like it's something stupid, and I know it's gonna be.
See, I already went to the security office, and it says on the board like what it did. And I remember one of the things it said is, "Oh, you can see keypad numbers." So it's
Yeah.
like, "Oh, I
see,
got to
I missed
use this
that.
thing." Well, I'm curious then. So you guys went to the mall first, then the living quarters. You need to get in a specific door in the living quarters. Could you use the ultraviolet to get the keypad? Did you try?
No, you're talking. Yes, you're talking about the one where you need the CCTV.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, that did not work.
Oh,
it
yeah.
didn't have any markings on the I tried it.
Yeah, I
because that
did.
that was my original thought. Was like, oh, I know how this works, ultraviolet. And then it didn't. You had to do it through the CCTV.
You know,
So-
it's a really cool gameplay element. I thought that it's just like a really, really minor detail is there's no pausing this game.
Yeah.
And I know it's super minor, but in the type of game, it's like Andrew, how many times would you have liked to have just paused and taken a breath to walk away from the monster?
Oh, well, I will say once again, you could kind of see the developers like, "Oh, this is a safe room." All right.
True.
And so, like, some of those times I could run to them. But yeah, I actually said that in my very first video because at the end I saved and I paused the game and I'm saying goodbye, and then a robot comes and starts killing me, and I'm like, "Oh, okay, there is no pause. That's actually good to know." Like I stumbled on that by accident as I was trying to finish for the night. But yeah, there's no pause to it.
It's just that tactile element of it to the point where a pause menu basically doesn't exist. So, yeah, just wild. So I don't
like
know. Do you have any other elements on graphics other than it's beautiful?
No, I just think they're really cool.
Just super detailed.
So one of the things I absolutely loved, it's like even your overall view, because you do have a space helmet on, and it actually does have a bit of a concave view on the edges, and that's what I loved. Like as soon as you kind of put your helmet on, just the whole graphics, like it almost has this grainy feeling, like you're in a spacesuit, and it worked so well. Yeah. I could not praise this environment and the atmosphere, the graphics of this anymore. I loved it.
You know where your helmet, like your visor, would really show up is like sometimes in
sprint.
direct sunlight.
Oh yeah.
So it was like you could tell like it wasn't like a completely clean like faceplate. Just so many small details like that. The game
Yeah.
was chock full of it. Like
I mean, I
it
guess
just
that's
doesn't
where
take
this
too
is-
long.
13 years comes into play.
Yeah, this is
Yeah.
where you can see the 13 years is absolutely with the graphics environment.
It's not a long game.
No. But I love that it's not.
It's probably perfectly paced. Truthfully,
I think it's perfect.
It doesn't
Perfect.
overstay its welcome, so I think that is a really good thing for it. But when you're thinking 13 years, you're like 13 years for like I don't know 7 hours of gameplay, 7-8 hours.
Yeah, 6 to 7 hours.
Unless you do not know how to navigate without yellow paint, it's like 10.
Yeah.
but that's for special people.
But like I said, obviously it wasn't they were working on it the entire time, 13 years. This isn't Silk Song here.
Good point. Good point.
I think they probably did better with the time.
Yeah. But the other thing too that's also fantastic is the audio. The audio in this game, wear headphones, it just creeps you out. You need it for the spatial audio. Like to hear the robots or the monster kind of pacing, you need to know where it's located. But the voice acting, like I said, there's not a lot of audio logs, but the voice acting that is here, really good.
Just the sound of a creaking bass.
Yes.
Like
The sound of a tape when you play it, I loved.
just so many little things. It was in the mall. I'm walking through like the underground area to get there, and you could hear a gentle trickle of water through the pipes.
Yeah.
And you're just like, it's just such a cool little
That or
added
like
touch.
the hum of like a fluorescent light.
Yeah.
Little things like that. It's one of those games where it's not about the music or the score. It's all about the audio cues, and they do such a good. Like you said, the dripping. There's one in particular that really got me. And it actually took me a little bit. I think it's supposed to be like, I don't know, something behind the walls, like metal scraping against metal, and it sounds like some sort of creature. And I'm like, it's this really uneasy feeling. And it's this one area in particular you walk through that it's like pitch black. And so you're just like, I don't love this. But yeah, like we were talking about, like the robots, while they're not really an effect directly, the sound of them is so cool. Like the just hulking, just crunch, 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 crunch as it's, and because you can hear it coming around a corner. And it's still just as it slow marches at you, it's so intimidating while so slow at the same time. And then you have the other one, which is sprinting at you everywhere. And man, the noises that thing's making,
Yeah, thump, 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 thump. Yeah.
just
No.
so different.
So this is perfect. One of the perfect scenes is when you're shutting the robot down, and like as you're doing the sequence, the lights, how they're flashing, and just the sound that it's making of this electric kind of like buzzing noise, but it almost sounds like it's in agony. And it's like this weird clickings and buzzings. The lights are flashing, and you're doing this whole procedure protocol thing. That whole scene, once again, like nothing about it really is scary, but it was making me tense just how well the sound design was as you're just shutting these certain panels down and moving things around. So good.
Yeah. I don't remember there being any music in this. Outside of like
There's
you
a radio.
playing-
There's one radio song.
yeah. Outside of like some elements, again, all tactile.
Yep.
Like you get a few commercials and stuff like that, which are all great. They all sound awesome. They all look awesome. Or even like you had just played the arcade game, that obviously has a little bit of music to it and some sound effects, but all that stuff still sounds great. I think I kind of prefer it that way. I think the
me too.
fact that like it's dropping you into a world and you're just living in that world. I think Keith's point of kind of saying like the story is you living out these events. I think that shows through on the audio side as well, where there isn't some, big soundtrack happening behind you. It is what you're experiencing as you're going through this. So really, really cool stuff.
I think some big score would do this a disservice. I think the only other real music I can think of is, I want to say those few moments it would come into like a cutscene, and it had that very like sci-fi like THX
synthy-
time. Yeah. But those were few and far between.
There was a jazz song playing on a tape recorder when you get to the founder's office. That's the only time I remember actual music playing.
Oh, I think I missed that one. Sounds good
Yeah.
though. Hope it's on Spotify. 1 million plays.
All right. But yes, for Achievement Hunters Go, this is absolutely an Achievement Hunter game. I 1000'd it, no problem. 90% of the achievements are just playing the game. There are a couple that are, I guess, missable, but not really. Like one was to play at the arcade. Like you're probably going to do that anyway. But that's about it. Like the other ones were all very much just very much story driven. That was it.
Shut down a robot. Like you can absolutely
yeah.
get through without that, but you're
Yeah.
more than likely gonna do it at least once.
Yep,
If
I
not
did
just
that,
out of
like,
sheer
right away. That was
curiosity.
my first one.
Yeah, the game immediately is like, don't do it, don't do it. You're like, well, of course I'm gonna do it now.
Yeah, so absolutely great for achievement hunters. Easy 1,000 gamer score. So check it out. All right, so let's get into our final thoughts here on Routine. Thank you, Aaron, for picking this game. I really hope people listening to this will check this game out. I think this is hands down my favorite horror game.
Just to give you a little bit of backstory, though, I know you're like thanking me for pointing this out. The reason I brought this up is people have been recommending this.
Yeah.
So there is some people out there that do know that this game exists. I don't want you to think, Andrew, nobody knows it exists and it's not getting any accolades. It is getting some.
Well, the only reason I'm saying that is because anytime I have done the live recordings of the games, I've done the past 3. I've at least had 10 plus or more within the first day of views. This one, nothing. Nobody watched the gameplay of Routine. So it's like nobody's looking this up. So that's why for me, I'm like, I don't know. I'm seeing not a lot of people looking this up.
Totally fair.
But yes, so if you do like horror games, check out Routine. This is everything about this game just worked really well. It's me and Keith said with like Little Nightmare. I like a good story, and Routine to me felt like it did enough. I will say it's probably its weakest point, yes, but by the end of the credits, I went, okay, I get what's going on, but there's some room for interpretation, kind of figure out what's going on. But it worked. The creatures absolutely terrified me. Like I said, it's been a very long time that I've legitimately jumped out of my seat and thrown my controller. And this game had a couple. Oh my gosh, I don't want to spoil it, but I always wanted. I want to ask Keith of like,
You've made it this far, Andrew.
the cafeteria. Keith, did you get on that jump scare?
The only thing that ruined it for me is that was again one of the few parts that I probably spent 10 minutes walking around that cafeteria. And so I was like, what? I was like, I know there's just something I need to pick up. And
Yeah.
It still got me, just not as much because I had actually seen it on a video prior.
Oh, see, it got me so hard because I actually accidentally did it. I was in the same boat. I was circling that room over and over again. I'm like, I need to find something here. I don't know what. And I went back to my gun menu and like, it'll save some passwords for you. And sure enough, it showed up. Oh, you have that person's ID. And I'm like, I have no idea how I found this ID. So great. So I was able to do it, went to the next door, and I died. So it set me back. So then I was like, crap, I don't have that ID anymore. Now I got to find that ID again. So I didn't think anything was happening because I clearly found it the first time and nothing happened. My God, when I found it that second time, I screamed so loud. And like, this is what I mean. This is why Routine was so good. It had some jump scares, but it didn't feel cheap. It felt very satisfying. It really like scared me. But the world building and the sound and the audio in this game was just so top notch that even when this game wasn't scary, it just always made me feel tense. I have a gun, but the thing's a piece of crap. It just stuns people. But it's just a slight safety blanket, but it's not really keeping me safe. And so this game just constantly kept me on edge. I love the story, how it was audios and diary logs, but they're all super short, straight to the point. Here's a little segment, and it's just build up, build up, build up, build up, right at for the end. It worked so well. This is a 90 for me. I loved Routine.
Yeah, I really like I feel like this happens every year. We're January 21st day of recording this, and I think I might already have my surprise game of the year laid
Same
out.
here, yeah.
Like I just and honestly, it's the biggest part of it is I didn't think I was gonna hate this. I just don't generally care for horror games, and
Yeah.
this really, really surprised me. I can't say that I think enough in terms of where I usually land on the horror genre as a whole. Because jump scares are such a make or break way to do horror, and it's so rare that a game does them well. I know I shared the clip with you guys earlier on this, and I won't go into it exactly, but it was a perfect example to me of the false senses of security that this game puts in place for you. because it just sets up this moment where I thought that I was being strategic. You know, it's like I remember where I saw the monster last, and I did, and I took action, and that preventative action was the worst thing I could have done. And honestly, like it felt like it was drawn up like a horror movie, like the way in a horror movie that you would see this happen. It was just poetic and perfect. And I loved that I shared the clip with you and you immediately went, oh yeah, that one got me too. Like it was just so well done. And I loved that. Then you add on that the visuals are great. The audio kind of has to be great in order for a good horror game to work, I think, but the audio is great. Just everything's great. And yeah, I'm genuinely really glad that we got the opportunity to play this game. I think, yeah, I'll just echo Andrew on the 90.
Wow. I thought I was going to be in the high one.
You know, this is really ultimately, I just want to echo everything that they've already said because it's all pretty much spot on. We really have not differed on any of the topics here when talking through this game. So me as the noob, and why this becomes one that's really hard to grade for me is I'm happy this game didn't really have a tutorial. I'm happy this game didn't really hold my hand. But my goodness, was it not frustrating at points? Trying to get through things, but I still think that works to its benefit more than it does against it. So if you are somebody that does kind of struggle through a game that's just not going to explain itself to you, it's just, you got to figure it out. You know, it can be a bit of a challenge. I don't know if I would put it at a 90, but it'd be pretty darn close. I'd put it at an 88. Like, to me, 90 is like the upper echelon. I don't know if it quite gets there for me, but it's pretty darn close.
I think
That's for me for a horror game.
I was just gonna say, I think for me that's exactly what it is. It's that it's just such a standout in the genre for me personally that it like deserves to get that level. But I get your point too.
It's no Still Wakes the Deep.
No, won't be.
Did you gave Still Wakes the Deep 90, didn't you?
I don't know. I have no clue, but I did love that game.
So
I forget about
you would
put
put
every rating as soon as we end this podcast.
But right off the cuff, would you prefer Routine or Still Wakes the Deep?
I like Still Wakes the Deep's monster better because it was more unpredictable. Like its motions and stuff like that were a little bit more unpredictable, so I had more fun with that one. Overall, the better made game is Routine.
See, I that's the thing too. I think it's just where you're at. Like I think once you keep going, that second half for me of the game,
you could
the
be
end,
right. I could totally
really
go
got
back
me.
and be like, all right, never mind. That's perfect.
All right, everyone. So please check out Routine. Give this developer some love because it took them 13 years, and honestly, I think it was worth it. Well worth it. So, anyway, if you have any game recommendations, make sure you go to GamePassGrabBag.com. Top right corner, you'll find the links to our stuff. Like I said, I have at least the first half of this game up on YouTube. If you want to see the walkthrough, like I ended up not doing the final half or the final third act because I didn't think people were as interested in it. Which I'm very unfortunate because those were the ones that literally that the videos I did not record is where I probably got the most scared and probably had the most screams. But it's a fun video. I recommend checking it out on our YouTube. If you have any game recommendations, you can send us an email, gamepassgrabback@gmail.com. As I said, please make sure you listen to us on Spotify. Help us get into the partner program because we're getting close. But I've been your hardcore gamer host, Andrew. You can find me on Xbox Live at Firebird0952.
Andrew always wants us to say something.
I at least expect you guys to say bye. Like, thanks for joining.
We do say bye once you play the music. Also, R.I.P. Felix.
Yeah. R.I.P. Felix. But thank you all for joining us. Love you all. See you again next week.